All right, my next guest is running for Congress in Virginia's 10th district. We had him on for the Get to Know You interview, and we talked about cutting the actual spending. He said he would be a vote for that. Hung Kao, welcome back to the program.
Andrew, thank you so much for having me back.
My pleasure. So how's the race going? Give us some details.
It's going splendidly. I mean, we just got put part of the Young Guns, which, it's the amount of money you raise and how quickly you can do it. But for me, the biggest honor is the fact that we have close to 9,000 donors. That shows a grassroots movement. I mean, the average donation at this point, based on how much we raise, is about $112 per donor.
That's awesome. First of all, I did not know, I just have to throw this out there, I did not know as a Navy diver that you went down and salvaged the wreckage of the plane that was unfortunately carrying JFK Jr. That was one of the biggest news stories 25 years ago, 30 years ago.
23, yeah.
23 years ago, sorry.
Last, July, was it the 16th? And so it was surreal. You went down there, we went down there and we were searching for days. And I hadn't gotten any sleep because I was the operations officer. I was in charge of setting up the grid coordinates because there was a bunch of people that were there searching for him for the past 3 days. We got on station, we took over, and then within 24 hours we found the plane. And then they came up and they're like, "Sir, you got to suit up." I'm like, "Wait, what do you mean?" They're like, "Sir, you got to dive." I'm like, "Surely somebody else in this ship is clean enough to dive." They're like, "No, you're only the last clean diver." So I had to suit up and go down, even though I had no sleep in the last 3 days.
Getting to know you, your family came here from Vietnam. You loved serving in the military. Just give me your view of military morale now and the fact that the branches are not hitting their recruitment quotas.
Yes, this is the first time in years that we've had trouble with recruitment. But when they look at what the nation, what the commander-in-chief has done to military members who refuse to take the vaccine, right? I mean, they're basically, this is the largest purge of all Christians out of the military. That's a problem. And that means that they're not standing behind us. And it's weird because they won't make it contentions for people to say, "Hey, not right now. I've got some serious religious issues with this vaccine." But if a person comes in and wants to be a transgender, they get taken off the line for 2 years because, when you're on these psychotropic drugs, you're not allowed to touch a weapon during that time. So it's about 2 years before you can touch a weapon. So for a 4-year enlistment, a person can be out for 2 years and not really deploy or do anything because they're transitioning, and that's a problem.
Look, I've always said, I remember a friend of mine said this to me once. He was 82nd Airborne. He's like, "I don't care if somebody serves because they're, gung-ho, patriot, or they want college money. If you do your job, that's all that matters." But a lot of people join the military because it was always seen as the ultimate meritocracy, right? You don't get into the kind of units like, Navy SEALs or airborne, or in your case, a diver, just because that's what you wanted. You identified as that, right? You had to earn it. And it feels like to a lot of people that the military is losing that sense of the meritocracy.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, for dive school, I commanded the Naval Diving Salvage Training Center. We trained 1,400 divers from all 5 services every year. And, there's a 75% attrition rate. That means like only a quarter of people make it through. And there's a reason why, because the sea is unforgiving. Things like hardship, war, difficulties in life, they don't care if you're man, woman, black, white, or straight or gay. It doesn't matter. So we have to pick the best people because, when you're out there, no one can hear you scream.
Yeah, what does it say about military readiness? If we first have this purge, then we see that the military is not even making its quotas. I mean, each of the branches. I mean, I thought that was something that Republicans and Democrats, conservatives, progressives all agreed on. We had to have military readiness.
Absolutely. But the problem right now is between the Congress and the Senate. So 535 members, you only have 89 veterans serving. I mean, that's a problem because they don't understand what it means to sacrifice. A lot of these people have never, people go to work in the morning, they come home that night. But we go to work in the morning, we may or may not come back 6 to 9 or 12 months later. And, and in Australia, for example, they're right in front of their parliament, they have the war memorial to remind members of the parliament what the cost of war is. And today it's just a punchline for some of these politicians, like, oh, thank you for your service. Really? Are you really thanking me?
Yeah. And, another, I don't know if it's affecting, I highly doubt it's affecting recruitment, but when you have a government that demands adherence to the rule of law that says, but we don't really want to enforce ourselves at the border. During my argument, I was pointing out, and this is a story that's probably on the beginning of its arc, the Biden administration just announced that they are going to be giving a special photo ID to people crossing the border illegally so they could travel about the country. Well, if that's not the first step towards, I guess, their goal of citizenship, I mean, they say the message is don't come, yet you're hearing that you get an ID if you do come. That kind of sounds like an invitation when you get a government document with your picture on it that lets you do pretty much what a citizen does.
Right, including a cell phone and a debit card, courtesy of you and me, the American taxpayer. You're absolutely right. And this is my problem with defunding the police, because I told somebody this a year ago. I said, it starts with defunding the police, and the next target is going to be building the military. Because, what I tell all police officers is this. I fight the away games, you fight the home games. And, but unfortunately, the seam between what we do is right there at the border.
Yeah, well, they might say, well, come on, WILKOW, this is not fair. You came from Vietnam, but the key word is legally. This is not an argument about legal immigration. It's like, it's not an argument about withdrawing money. If you withdraw money with an ATM, that's legal. If you withdraw with a gun, that's not legal.
Exactly. You can't ask for the American dream if you don't embrace the American laws. That's the first part, right? You have to respect who we are as a nation, as a sovereign nation, and follow the rules. There's honor in waiting in line. We waited in line for 7 years for the right to vote. We did everything right. This country gave us everything we can hope for, and I paid back with my service back to this great nation.
Part of the problem, though, is there's one too many Republicans. And I look, this is why I've been interviewing grassroots conservatives like yourself. I want to see Republicans and conservatives act like Republicans and conservatives, not do what we saw last time, which is they all ran on border security, right? They all ran on build the wall. As soon as they had the opportunity to do it, they didn't. They basically whiffed on it. They said, be patient. We'll upgrade. We'll give some upgrades here, hire a few more border agents there. But really, Republicans, when they had all the power to do it, they kind of whiffed on it.
That's exactly right. That's what my conversations with all the leaders in Congress, as well as the guys who are running with me, is I told them, if we go in there and do nothing for the first 2 years and just pat ourselves in the back, we're going to get voted out right away. People put us in office, and it's going to be a huge wave. I mean, it's going to be a little tsunami, and they're going to vote us out if we don't get anything done. So November 9th, the day after we win, we have to roll up our sleeves and make things happen.
I think we all know that when Republicans look, it could be a tsunami, like you said, in the House. It might be a few seats. I mean, I would love it to see it be 5 or 6 seats in the Senate, really with a governing majority. But we know we're going to be headed for government shutdowns when conservatives say, okay, the spending has gone too far. It's devaluing the currency. We have to cut the spending. I asked you about that the first time you were on. Biden's not going to give them spending cuts. Biden wants to spend more. So we're probably heading towards another government shutdown as soon as conservatives take over. But I got to leave it there, sir. We'll get you on the radio program again.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
WILKOW running in Virginia's 10th district. Up next.